The feast began back in 1978 with the original Piranha, which I'm sure wasn't inspired by Jaws at all. I mean, it starts with a young couple skinny dipping and both of them get eaten, which is totally different. Maggie gets hired to find the teens and hires Paul here to be her guide, and when they investigate, there's this little lizard monster. R.J. Fletcher shows up but is unable to stop them from draining the little pool, which unfortunately lets the piranha out into the river. There's a camp downstream that will probably have the fish eating Raoul, but not before getting a little nibble along the way. It's revealed that the fish were a government experiment to release in enemy river systems, and then McCarthy gets eaten, and you're next! Lovely Barbara Steele pops in, and there's a lot of talk about the Vietnam War and how it ended not that long ago, so we can probably assume that we're in real time here, and it's the summer of 1978. And then the recently passed great Walter Paisley pops in as basically the mayor from Jaws. And this guy's reading a magazine called Headquarters Detective, and I've researched the cover and it looks like it's from 1978 or 76, but either way it makes 78 plausible. But then this little girl has a Mickey Mouse comic, and my research here was intense. You see, this comic is Mickey Mouse 81, and this version with a blue background instead of a green was a reprint edition which came out in 1978, so that's our official year, especially because this Star Wars issue is also from 78. The piranha make their way to the camp and attack the kids and Paul Martel, causing chaos and casualties. They try to warn Buck Gardner, but he refuses to close the resort because there's attacks, explosions, and mass chaos at the resort. The colonel gets chomped, and Paul attempts to use industrial waste to poison the fish and has to go in the water. The fishes attack as he opens the valve, and Maggie manages to pull him to safety. Buck lives, as does Mengers, who says that the threat is over, but we hear them out to sea, setting us up for more. Trouble resurfaced 3 years later in 1981's Piranha II: The Spawning, which I guess was also called Piranha II: Flying Killers. And wait a minute. That can't be right. That can't be that James Cameron, can it? Before Terminator and Avatar, James Cameron brings you a flying piranha movie. We've moved to a Caribbean resort, and Discount Bradley Cooper is here, and mom and son who have a rather odd relationship, but who am I to judge? Bishop drives a boat, and we meet the oddball assortment of hotel guests, and we're told that it's the first full moon after the vernal equinox, so we're set in early spring. And people start getting eaten, and the fish can apparently hide in a human body for a day. I guess napping while our heroes look at it, but then it jumps out when a random character is there. And it can fly! They talk about the events of the first film and say that it was several years ago, so most likely in real time 81, and every time that we see the little guys, they're pretty obvious puppets. Turns out this guy worked on the project, he says, for 2 years, and when they try to tell the authorities, they don't believe them and won't shut down the festival. Of course, when the night occurs, the piranha attack, flying up and killing all the wacky characters we've met. And look at this tense showdown. I mean, it's pretty clear that this is from the man who will bring you Terminator 2, right? They place a bunch of underwater charges, and luckily for our heroes, I guess all the fish go right to that place at the same time, and there's a pretty nonsensical helicopter explosion, and Tyler gets stuck and eaten, and all the conveniently concentrated piranha are blown up. Nothing happened for 14 years, and it wasn't until Roger Corman made a remake of the film for Showtime as 1995's Piranha. It follows the plot of the original pretty strongly, except with extra Baywatchiness. I've already used this joke, but believe it or not, William Catt is here. Maggie says it's the 90s, so we're close to present day, and just like the original, they drain the pool to release the fish. Kevin McCarthy's character is now a woman, and they fight, and then we see a calendar for 1995, most likely the year that we're set in. We meet Paul's daughter, and it's the Black Swan, and Oddly enough, when the piranha attacked, it's actually footage from the original film. The doc is killed, and they won't close the resort, because you knew that already. So the festival then begins, and trust me, this is the whitest thing you'll see today. Chaos breaks out at camp, killing Punky Brewster, and the governor shows up, and you better hold your tongue if you like this job. There's mayhem at the resort, complete with exploding jet ski, and we get a replay of the ending of the first film with Roger diving down to poison the fish and getting attacked by what appears to be those oven mitts with fish printed on them. They succeed, and the developer kills himself while a moose watches him, and it ends the exact same way as the original. It took even longer and 15 more years until we got another remake, this one a larger budget version for theaters and 2010's Piranha 3D. It starts with Hooper singing Show Me the Way to Go Home, because apparently this is actually a sequel to Jaws. Not really, but Richard Dreyfuss has said that he's playing the same character, even though his name is Matt Boyd and not Matt Hooper. An earthquake sets loose a bunch of our little killers, and we're at Lake Victoria during spring break, and Jennifer Parker is the sheriff. And Fat Kid has gone wild, and Luther Strickle is here. And so is Mayor Ben Wyatt. And Paul Scheer. There's a cinematic masterpiece of a sequence with underwater nude ballet, and... Yep. Dizzy pops in and out really quickly. Doc appears for basically one scene to evaluate the fishy, and the movie has like 6 or 7 porn star cameos. Eli Roth appears, and there's a full-on spring break mayhem with Eli Squash. Paul Scheer literally vanishes from the movie, for real. He's here on the boat, and then you just never see him again. O'Connell gets munched, and then Ving kind of just stands in the water and lets them eat them. There's a boat right behind you, dude. Our heroes blow up a boat, and even though they've shown thousands and thousands of piranha in the lake, in all parts of the lake, which they say is 25 miles wide, they seem to think they've killed all of them, or at least most. But they say that the piranha are just babies, and we get a quick flash of a big one in a scene that was in the trailer. To reiterate, the final shot of the movie was in the trailer. So they never say the date in this one, so we're just going to go with real-time 2010. A sequel came pretty fast with 2012's Piranha 3 Double D. We're told that a year has passed since the last film, and we're told that all the piranha had been killed and Lake Victoria is empty. Gary Busey shows up to be crazy looking, and yet another return of the Living Dead alum is here, as more eggs are still in the lake, and just like that, the frenzy is back on. So Todd Packer has a water park, and there's expendable teens, including Tucker and Dale's lady friend. And when the fish attack, everyone seems perplexed, even though it's near the same lake that these guys made news stories just 1 year ago, so I have no idea why it's not more commonly known that this could be something that could happen. Judge Doom pops back in again for about 10 more seconds, and this You Watch video was uploaded in 2011, and it's kind of hard to see the month, and it's not clear if he just uploaded this video or if it's been up for a while. So we have two scenarios: either he uploaded this after the events of the first film and that one took place in 11 and this one is in 2012, or he just uploaded this video recently and it's 2011 with the first movie taking place in 2010. And let's go with the first option, since he has 11 million hits, and that seems like it would take some time to accumulate that many hits. I mean, not that I'm bitter, but things get really weird as they really try to find ways to make the piranha relevant, since people aren't in the lake a lot. And yes, there's a scene where a piranha is in a girl's vagina and bites her boyfriend's penis while they're having sex. I mean, there's even an Elm Street style nightmare sequence with piranha in the bathtub. And then things take a turn with the arrival of the Hasselhoff.
Melting the rock bottom.
And Andrew magically reappears, and he has Deputy Fallon with him, who's still alive somehow, just sans legs. I mean, the last we saw him, he was neck deep underwater and surrounded by fish, but they just got his legs, I guess. They didn't close the park even though they knew about the piranha. Sure enough, piranha come up through the pipes and into the park, and Ving has shotgun legs now, and this whole thing would be over if people just got out of the water. But look at these people, just floating here, just floating. The piranha are not much of a threat here, and they actually have to have Champ die from a random accident. And when our heroes are in the pool for a rather extended time, there only seems to be like 1 or 2 fishies around them at any given time. But then they blow them up, and then there's a twist that shows the piranha learning to walk.
There you go, it's 5 movies, 3 separate continuities. You got the first 2 movies, the middle one, and then the final 2. First 2 don't really have a continuity, they're kind of more anthology-esque. I guess they kind of connect together, but again, you don't have to see either one of them for the other one to make sense. Third one's just a remake of the first film. It exists on its own. And then the final 2 definitely are its own continuity. They do have a continuity, but again, I don't necessarily think you even have to really see the first one to see the second one. But there you go. They were all pretty good. I enjoyed watching all these. None of these were too terrible. They were all a little bad, but still kind of fun. First one is pretty awesome. It has a script by John Sayles, which is pretty great. And I actually enjoyed watching all these. There's a lot of entertainment value in there, so I'm not mad at it. So if you get a chance, check them out. That's about it for this week's video. It's kind of a stupid idea. Really don't know why I did this, but hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know if you enjoyed it down below. And let me know if you like this video. Let me know what you think of the Piranha movies, and kick over some money to this Patreon channel over here if you get a chance. Maybe get me some dry clothes or something like that. And I'll see you guys in a little while for another great video. Thanks.